we were also trying to reach space with winged aircraft to get through the upper atmosphere, and that was done using a vehicle called the X-15. It was a vehicle that traveled the first vehicle to travel 4, 5, and 6 times the speed of sound. It was dropped from the underwing of a B-52 bomber, and some of the flights were so high in altitude that the pilots got astronaut wings. Where's the X-15? It's this black plane over here. All of these things are real. Now, what's interesting is that back in the 1950s, many of you weren't around at the time. I was just born in 1957, but you know that we were in the midst of something called the Cold War. The Soviet Union and the United States were not getting along, and the Cold War escalated into outer space in 1957, October 1957, when what happened? The Soviets launched Sputnik 1, and on loan from the Russian Academy of Sciences, here's a model of Sputnik 1, right here. And over here is what the answer was from the United States in 1958. This is a model of Explorer 1, and it had actually a science payload aboard that was overseen by a Dr. James Van Allen out of Iowa. So Iowa actually led America into space. And Explorer 1 and Explorer 3, the science payload aboard detected radiation around Earth, and it was determined that there's a zone of radiation around Earth, which is now known as no, not the ozone layer, the Van Allen radiation belt, named for James Van Allen. But going back to Sputnik, Sputnik had a transmitter aboard that went beep, 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 and traveling around the Earth every 90 minutes, it would fly over the United States. And the United States was absolutely powerless to stop it and was absolutely stunned that the Soviets had the technological capability to do this. So the race in space was on. And the first human being to orbit the Earth was who? Does anybody know? Yuri Gagarin. He was a Soviet cosmonaut launched in 1961. Who was the first American to orbit the Earth? John Glenn. And he flew in a capsule called Friendship 7. He was up there for 4 hours and 55 minutes, only the second human being to see sunrise every hour and a half, to see a sunset every hour and a half. And then telemetry from Johnson Space, going down to Johnson Space Center, indicated that his heat shield may be falling off. So they didn't even know if he was going to return, if he was going to be able to survive re-entry. Friendship 7, the sardine can that he was in for 4 hours and 55 minutes. John Glenn, the former senator from the great state of Ohio, is right there. That's his spacecraft. He was in that. That was orbiting the Earth. And then in Gemini 4 in 1965, Ed White was the first American to open up the hatch and conduct a spacewalk, and he was moving at 18,000 miles an hour. Okay, when you're in orbit around the Earth, you're moving at 5 miles a second. You just went 5 miles. You just went 5 miles. And he opened up the hatch, and he was out there at 18,000 miles an hour. The only thing holding him back, holding him to his lifeboat back home, was this thin gold umbilical cord. There's Gemini 4 right there. And the hatch is open because obviously he came out of that hatch.